All praises to the Most High Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahushai, double honors to the elders and apostles of GMS who are well, and likewise elders. Shalom to the Alpha elect. Lord willing, this video is edifying. Now, I really want to talk about the psychology of the battle, right? Because any Jake, especially Jake in the truth, knows that life is basically one big fight. You have to fight for everything, you have to fight for your job, you have to fight for life, go through stuff, and you have to fight through it. You might lose people and you have to fight through the depression of losing people, so on and so forth. And it's just the psychology of being able to go through that stuff and basically retain your spirit, your sanity, and your physical health. It says here that white men have less life stress but are more prone to depression because of it. Whom should they talk to? How should they act? Now, it's quite a lot. I'm going to try and speed run through this. It says when people talk about the black white health gap, they usually mean that black people have worse health outcomes than white people, and generally that's true. On basically every measure, from childbirth to hypertension to HIV transmission rates, the black community fares worse. But there's one area where this gap doesn't hold up: men's mental health. White men are more likely to face depression associated with stressful life events than black men or women of any race, according to a recently published study in a journal of racial and ethnic health disparities. This is an especially interesting finding because, as might be expected, white men reported having fewer stressful life events than black men. These events were defined as poor health, so black people have worse health, we suffer more financial stress, we have more issues with employment, we have more issues with marital or family problems, we have more problematic gambling behaviors, we suffer more police harassment, and we are victims of crime and discrimination at far higher rates than Esau. It says white men were experiencing the least stress in their lives. Lead study, Dr. Shervin Asari, a researcher investigator at the University of Michigan Department of Psychiatry, told the Huffington Post they don't get a lot of it and they are not used to it, so they are more prone to its harmful effects. So basically, is like working out your whole life. You get used to lifting big weights. Jake is used to dealing with stress, so he can deal with stress. Whereas Esau never been to the gym in his whole life, so when you throw a weight on him, he can't lift it. He's struggling. The next day, his body's aching because he's not acclimated to lifting them weights. So basically, Esau is basically a big crybaby, right? Let me get this scripture. This is Zechariah 13:9. And I will bring the third part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. And they shall call on my name, and I will hear them. And I will say, it is my people. And they shall say, the other one is my power. So what's that fire? It's the fire of adversity. The Lord is putting Jake through it because he knows through putting us in it, Lord willing, we have that number. We get refined through this adversity, we get built up, we become more mentally resilient, we become spiritually stronger, psychologically stronger. And if Jake is working out, eating well, becomes physically stronger as well. If you don't go through nothing, you can't really learn to live with problems, right? Yeah, you have this idea where you have an animal that's coddled its whole life. I think no, the brother actually brought this out the other day where he said they left this bear. They had this bear in captivity, and he just used to walk around in circles. And then they put him in the wild, and because he was so used to being in captivity, when he was released in the wild, he was just walking around in circles. It drives you crazy. You not going through things makes you soft. So when you have to deal with situations, you can't possibly deal with them because you've never been through them to know how to deal with it. And just to even use another analogy, I saw it was a it was a video, right, of this it was a man that was acting like well, it was a woman that had transitioned into a man, right? And they were crying and they were saying they weren't able to deal with it. It went viral, right? And she didn't know how to deal with it as a man. And she was like, "Oh man, go through more depression, rare," because she hasn't grown up as a man and being treated as a man, so she didn't know how to deal with the stress of it, And all of this stuff is to refine us. So when that time comes, Jake is gonna be laughing in the face of adversity while these people are crying. This is Second Corinthians 4:8. It says, "We are troubled on every side, yet not distressed. We are perplexed, but not in despair. Persecuted, but not forsaken. Cast down, but not destroyed." I'll go back to the article. It says, logically, people who haven't dealt with stressful life events or have encountered them infrequently lack the coping mechanisms and support systems that develop when overcoming hardship. Because stress really changes uh, the chemistry of your brain. The more stress you go through, you release cortisol, you find, as I said, coping mechanisms. You learn to deal with adversity when you've not been through that. When you've lived a coddled, protected life, you don't know how to deal with it when them fists start flying. Because this is basically a fight, as I said. It says lacking the coping mechanisms and support systems that develop when overcoming hardship. Social support and religion, for example, are proven and effective coping mechanisms for dealing with stress. They don't learn how they should mobilize their resources from previous stressful experiences, as Sari said. Whom should they talk to? How should they act? They have not learned to respond to stress to the same level as black men, because basically you ain't going through it. So this is why when you go through a lot of these so-called MGTOW channels or these men channels, they talk about how now black white men are now facing discrimination, and they're the bane of everyone's existence now. Everybody hates them, and they're oppressed and all of this rubbish. And any Jake knows that this is bullcrap, man. Esau is not oppressed. Esau oppresses himself. You know, the elders say it all the time. You know, you start saying you're a victim when you have to deal with equality, for lack of a better. I'm roughly paraphrasing what they say, but basically, because everybody's trying to come with this whole equality stuff, Esau thinks he's oppressed, even though he's supposed to be treated like everybody else, even though he's still treated better. But to him, he's oppressed now, which makes absolutely no friggin' sense. He says, in a way, the study hits on a sticky subject. Depression is a serious and often debilitating mental health condition, and white men who are suffering from depression should be supported, not stigmatized. On the other hand, the strong association between a small number of stressful life events and depression among white men speaks volumes about white privilege. The world treats white men so well. In fact, it says the world treats white men so well, in fact, that infrequent negative life circumstances mentally harm them. So there you go. The study, which included almost 6,000 adults from around the country, controlled for income, education, employment, and marital status, it did not find the same stress-depression correlation among women that it did among men. When comparing stressful life events along gender and racial lines, women had more exposure to stress than women, which is bullcrap. The stress that women deal with is self-inflicted, and black participants had more exposure to stress than white participants. Black women reported the highest number of stressful, which is bullcrap again. Black women reported the highest number of stressful life events, while white men reported the least exposure to stress. This stress that these so-called black women deal with is stress of their own making, man. You know what I mean? Because really and truly, women live life on easy mode. You just make a whole bunch of decisions that are bad for you, and then you have to deal with the consequences of it. They're basically self-inflicted stressful life events. It's not the same. You getting pregnant by Pookie and Ray Ray is not the same as me walking down the street, getting pulled over by the police and getting bust in my face. You know what I mean? Out of here with that stuff. Unlike men, however, black and white women had similar stress-related susceptibility to depression. Asari thinks this may be a product of habituation, or when the body stops responding to a stress stimuli as is repeatedly exposed to it. So we just numb to it, man. you start developing a type of resistance to it. He said after some types of very severe stresses, people transform. You stop caring, man. This is what's known as post-traumatic growth, when a person shows resilience or emerges stronger in the wake of a traumatic experience. While such stresses are clearly a net negative, the result of a heartening 2013 study of low-income mothers in the years following Hurricane Katrina found that 30% of survivors felt the storm had given them an improved sense of personal strength, enhanced spirituality, and improved relationships. All right. Learning to cope, it says, not all coping mechanisms are healthy. Learning to cope with repeated exposure to stress can have a dark side too. Chronic stress has been linked to anxiety, depression, digestive problems, heart disease, sleep problems, weight gain, and memory and concentration impairment, according to the Mayo Clinic. And all too often, people's behavioral strategies for dealing with stress are far from healthy. Smoking, drinking alcohol, overeating, and using drugs are all coping methods, albeit unhealthy ones. Coping with stress by drinking alcohol or overeating creates a physical health burden, even as it dispels a mental one. Drinking too much can lead to heart disease, liver disease, and digestive problems, while being overweight is associated with type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, yada, 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 yada. Discussing the myth that men don't get depressed. Perhaps the most important takeaway from a survey studies are the fact that men do suffer from depression, and that the study dispels the highly damaging belief that mental health and emotions aren't something. Oh, this is going to something else. I'm not gonna. But basically, the gist of this little article here is basically to show that Esau's a little punk. He can't deal with stress. When this time of affliction comes, he's not going to be able to deal with it because he spent his life coddled like a little baby, basically like a wee little baby. Uh, I was looking at here. It says fighting is all about psychology. It says talk to any seasoned martial arts athlete, and they're typically quick to let you know that a massive portion of fighting is mental. Some attribute up to 80% of the performance to mental state. Combat sports are different from most sports since they aren't things you play. This is real life. And when you're dealing with these real life situations, you being able to deal with it is mostly mental. You know what I mean? Because one thing can break another person, and the same thing to another person will make them. You know what I mean? This is why you hear situations of men divorcing, losing their house, losing their kids, and these guys go postal. They go kill the woman, kill the kids, they kill themselves, or they just kill themselves, or just spiral out of control. And other men will go through that, and they become better. You know, they grow in the spirit. They might get a better job. They become more responsible. They grow as people from adversity. It's sometimes what does it say? If you look at what if you look at hot water, right? It'll harden an egg, and with other things, it burns it, it dissolves it. You know, you put sugar in hot water, it'll dissolve it. So, you know, depending on what you are, you either become hardened by something, or you just dissolve and become nothing. How much of fighting is mental? It says fighting is 90% mental, and the rest of it is in your head. The psychology of fighting has spawned more Yogi Berra style quotes than I can count, but they all seem to agree on one thing: mental toughness is key. And in this truth, mental toughness is key, man. Talks about endurance in the Bible, right? This is Second Timothy 2:3. Thou therefore endure hardness as a good soldier of Yahushua Hamashiach, right? No man that warreth entangleth himself with the affairs of this life, that he may please him who hath chosen him to be a soldier. And if a man also strive for masteries, yet is he not crowned, except he strive lawfully. The husbandman that laboureth must be first partaker of the fruits. So you being in this walk, you being in this truth, you're not supposed to be preoccupied with the stuff that's going on in the world. You know, that's building up your mental resilience to be able to deal with the things that's coming. All this stuff is to make you stronger, so that when these afflictions come, you don't go and cry in a corner like a baby, like Esau does, which is which is what he does, man. He's the biggest baby on earth. I mean, you look at the story of Esau and Jacob. My man went in the field and he came back and he was parched. He could have waited an hour, 2 hours, could have made his own food. You know, you need water more than you need food. He was so parched, he just ate the red is it porridge that they call it in the scriptures. He couldn't wait an hour, couldn't wait 2 hours. My man was so thirsty for it. He sold his whole birthright. You can't want to rush things, man. And the whole point of what I'm trying to say is, being in this, you it's basically like a mental game. You have to endure. You want this to end, but it doesn't end. It just keeps going on and on and on, and you're just waiting for the Lord to come back. All of this stuff really is just to separate the weak from the strong. It's a sifting process. And if you fall away from it, then it just ultimately means that you weren't worthy. So you have to kind of harden yourself to the stuff that's going on. You have to be numb. You have to realize it's going to get a whole lot worse, which is why me personally, I don't really like it when brothers say, oh, we're a few weeks, we're a few days from this place being done. Man, you don't know, man. The most I will put on somebody's spirit to say that, and that you're thinking this place is going to be over in 2 3 weeks, and then 6 months pass by and you're still here, and you believe this guy, and you just went and you sold all of your stuff, you didn't use wisdom, and now you're out there homeless because you thought that uh this place was going to be done in 3 months. We don't know how long this place is going to last for, man. This is a sifting process that we're going through, and we have to be cognizant of that. This is Colossians 3:2. Set your affection on things above, not on things on earth. So all of this stuff that we think are important, these are the things that will get you out of here if you focus on it too much, man. You just have to put your faith in the Lord, fast, pray, do what you need to do, and just strengthen yourself and get ready to deal with this stuff, man, because most of this stuff is psychology, man. Even the other day I went sparring, right? And one thing I've realized about fighting is, for me personally, when if I'm sparring somebody, I don't go 100%, especially during the spar. A lot of the time, I like to feel somebody out to see how they fight, to see how they move, and they might get the best of me in the first few rounds, but by 2 3 rounds, I've analyzed how they fight, and I've lulled them into a false sense of security. So at that point, I know what you're gonna do. So I know how you're gonna move. I know what your body movement is like before you throw a punch, and I can counter you before you've even thrown a punch. You know what I mean? And a lot of the times, you like the scriptures talk about heaping. Let me get that. I don't want to butcher that. Scripture. Yeah, here it is. This is Matthew. Look, oh man, what's going on? No, 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 no. It's Matthew 5:44. My internet's kind of playing up right now. Kind of just wanted this to be under 15 minutes, man. This is Matthew 5:44. But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, but you may be children of your Father, that ye may be children of your Father in heaven. He causes his sun to rise on the evil and the good, and sends rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. If you love those who love you, what reward will you get? Now, this is all psychology, man, because when somebody is cruel to you, you want to be cruel back. But when you're mean to them, they don't know how to deal with it. And really and truly, you're doing that because psychologically you understand that the Lord sees everything. So you're better off being nice to them because you know the Lord is going to reward you for that. If you have your mind set on things in this earth, you're like, well, I want to get this person back, and you do it, and you end up, being disgusting in the eyes of the Heavenly Father. You have to be good to people, even people that want to despitefully use you. Obviously within context, it doesn't mean that you go around and you give all your money away. But the Lord sees you being good to people who treat you like dirt or who are evil towards you, and he's gonna punish them and reward you for it. You know what I mean? So this is all refining this is all refining the psychologies of our mind to be able to endure when people are mean to us, to be able to endure hardships. This is just all to make us better, and this is all a psychological game. When you look at the things that Job went through, man, Satan basically just tortured him, man. He just tortured his mind, and when he wasn't able to get him, he started torturing his body. He killed his children. He lost his money, and he was still healthy. He was just putting him through it, and he still wasn't cursing the Lord. So what did he do? He attacked his body, because he was attacking his mind first, and he was like, well, if I attack his body, that's gonna be it, because now I've attacked his mind, and now I'm gonna attack his body, and hopefully he's gonna crumble in the spirit, but his spirit still remained, man. And that's how we have to be. We have to be faithful unto death, man. So yeah, Lord willing, this video was edifying. All praises to the Most High Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, double honors to the elders and apostles of Jemas, rule well. Shalom to the elect. Shalom.